You're back in Texas.
I'm back in Texas. We had a great time during the one-day mastermind and in beautiful North Idaho. We want to share with you how that went. It was a magnificent experience. Tammy is a great host.
Well, thank
Tammy.
you. And you are great. Yes, you put up with me. I took Lori so many places. And we are grateful for my husband who took us to all these places and took photos and shot footage that we are still going through because we have so many photos and we have drone footage. It was amazing though. It was such a wonderful time. And Lori has to be a sister of mine. We do so many things so much alike.
We want to help you understand the importance of getting away. Again, I keep saying disconnect to reconnect with what matters most. And in this situation, of course, I disconnected from my daily activities here at home in the middle of the city, in a city in Texas, to go away in nature with my dear soul sister, Tammy, and participants that just took advantage of this mastermind. And to see and to feel her love for and passion for nature, her admiration for nature. Like when you are living a place, you kind of start taking things for granted or just like, yeah, this is here. No, but with Tammy, it's like she was the one discovering and experiencing and transforming in her own environment. And it's just so fascinating how she wants to transmute that excitement and emotions she has for the sky, for the water, for lakes, for the birds, for the creatures. I mean, Tammy, can we start talking about the creatures we saw? Like, I was so fascinated with a woodpecker.
Go for it.
And again, this is so something that is in her surroundings that she sees and has access to every day in and out 24/7. Her beautiful property, the woods, the front gardens, her vegetable garden is just amazing and fascinating. And one thing I asked her when we first saw each other, when I was being driven from the airport to her property, is like, hey, will we get to see one of your clients' homes with your art? Like, I want to see her art, right? And she's like, oh, no worries. My house has plenty of my art. And I'm like, okay. I mean, I kid you not. Friends, nature lovers, outdoor warriors. I mean, I kid you not. This friend, this amazing woman right here, has art. You look left, right, it's just Tammy's art. It's Tammy Mitska Crawford's art, and it's just fascinating. So I want to invite you to take it serious when we start promoting and planning another North Idaho retreat because you will be in awe. And we have our amazing guest, Patrice, today, right, Tammy?
Yeah, welcome, Patrice. Patrice.
Hi there. Hello. Hello. Nice to be here. Let me go on here. Great.
Yay. We are happy to have you, Patrice. We were just talking about our amazing weekend. We had a mastermind weekend in North Idaho, and Tammy was an incredible host, and the activities we did in nature and outdoors was amazing. Patrice, I want you to notice her background is her 3D wall art.
Wow.
And it's not the same when you look at it in person and literally there. And I just came back from being there, and it was amazing. So I want you to.
I'm surprised. Lori has such an adventurous spirit. I took her to so many places. We didn't get to go boating. We could have yesterday if she would have stayed one more day.
Yeah.
But she had to fly home. But the weather was perfect for hiking and exploring. And so I took her up to Alpine Lakes and so into some waterfalls. So it was a fun adventure.
Well,
And
it looks, if that is a representation of where you were, it looks fantastic. I see water, I see hills, I see trees, and it's already speaking to my soul.
Water, right? Because you
Yes,
like water as well, from what
yes,
I read. Because islands and it's
yes,
tropical, which is Lori, but I
yes,
actually love tropical too. Anything
yes,
that has to do with water. And that
yeah,
was the request. Daryl was asking, okay, where do you guys want to go? And we're like, anywhere there is water, as long
yeah,
as it has a stream, a
yeah.
lake, or waterfall, we are
Mhm.
there.
Yeah, yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I've made some big decisions actually in my life because I wanted to be closer to the water. So definitely understand that.
so tell us more, Patrice. Take advantage of this opportunity
Tell us
to
where you're
just
from and a little bit about yourself
Yes.
here.
Yeah, so I'm originally from the Caribbean. I'm originally from an island. That island is Jamaica. Many of you know of Jamaica. And so all of my life, since I was in college, I've always wanted to move back to the islands, specifically Jamaica. But I always kept my options open. I was like, as long as it's a Caribbean island. So I recently relocated to Jamaica. I live in both places really. I'm not fully here in Jamaica, but yeah, that decision was made partly because I just love the feel of the island, the just the wind blowing through the trees and the tropical foliage, just all of that speaks to me, and as a result, I made it here finally.
So that's awesome that you're there. So if we come to Jamaica, we can visit you.
Yes, yes. Absolutely.
I'm just picturing that wind and the breeze, the tropical, the
Yeah.
smell in the air. I mean, it
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
Yeah, it is. And so again, it's a 30-year dream that I've held on to. And, once my last child graduated from college, I decided now's the time to put that into action. And so we'll see where it goes from here.
Patrice, that is so key. This is what we're about here in this group. In this
Yeah.
group, we like to inspire people with stories.
Mhm.
And I know you have an amazing professional background, and we want to touch on that. At the same
Yes.
time, it's very important to acknowledge that amazing, huge leap of faith that you took.
Yeah.
Like, for you to have already made that decision in your
Yes.
head,
Mhm.
understand that there was a timing for you to be able to do that, or you wanted to give yourself that amount of time until you accomplish certain things because of
Mhm.
your circumstance at the time. And
Mhm.
then now you pursued it. So
Mhm.
tell us about that path. Maybe you can talk a little bit about
Sure.
your professional trajectory, and then tell
Yeah.
us, like, why is this so important that you are now living in
Mhm.
within that goal and dream that you had?
Yeah. I'll briefly touch on the professional. I'll certainly, be more than happy to tell you a little bit more about that. So, the long and short of it is that I started out in the marketing space and then ended up shifting when my children were younger. I decided I wanted to shift to a part-time role. And so back then in the mid 2000s, well, about 2005, there weren't a lot of part-time professional positions. I don't know if you guys remember that. So you either stayed in the professional field or just found something completely out of that. Long story short, I ended up managing government grants, federal grants for nonprofits. And so that helped me build a new skill set. And about taking this thing very, very, much more recent, about actually December 2019, I decided to resign from my last position and started my grant consulting firm in January 2020. So I have a federal grant consulting firm. So I help organizations, primarily nonprofits, but also local government agencies that get federal grants, or colleges, universities that get federal grants. We help them manage the grants so they can keep them. So we're not grant writers. A lot of people think that if you're in the grant space, you're writing the grant. That's on the pre-award side. On the post-award side, you have people like us that actually help organizations keep and comply with their grants. So I started that business because I knew I was going to need to kind of take my life into my own hands if I wanted to live out my lifelong dream of traveling to different countries around the world. I knew, like my 2-week vacation, my two-week allocation of vacation days wasn't going to be enough. I knew that my, annual increase that I received each year wasn't going to be what I needed to be able to actualize my dreams. And so I decided to take a leap of faith and start the business. I'm one of those people that I always know things are going to work out. I may not know how, but I know it's going to work out. So when I started the consulting business, I had no idea what that meant. Over time, though, I learned and I've built a system, and now we have 4 employees, including myself, and we support a number of contractors. So that starting that business has given me the opportunity and the freedom to do a lot of the things that I've wanted to do. One of them being moving back to the Caribbean. So.
Oh, that's amazing. So what was that one thing, or
Mm-hmm.
I want to hear more about how you got started into doing that. Was it just you took a job,
We started doing, you mean to move here or to start moving into federal grants in general?
Yeah,
Yeah.
which one's the more what's the interesting story, because a lot of times we'll do things and it's not always because we want to, or it is because it's like, no, I'm going to do this no matter how hard it is.
Yeah.
Because I know your business is called what? Ready, Set, Go.
Yeah, that's one of them. Yeah, that's one of them.
How did you come up with that?
Yeah. So so let's say around, I think July 2005, I remember because it was in the middle of the summer. My son was going to go into middle school. I was working as an account executive at a marketing firm. I used to manage really, really large direct marketing campaigns. I don't know if you guys remember those direct mail campaigns. And so I had I had clients, the Sheriff's Association of America, a number of states, not all of them. And so I realized, okay, when my son goes back to school, I won't be home. He will be in middle school. I don't want a latchkey kid. What can I do to make sure that I have a part-time job? So so I resigned in July, and then for the rest of the summer, I worked part-time as a marketing person. I did continue to do marketing, and then I was able to land what is it? A part-time permanent position as a grants manager for a nonprofit organization in Atlanta, Georgia. Part of the reason I was able to even qualify for that role is because even though my role was in marketing, as you know, in marketing, there's that creative side, and then there's the planner. That's the person that's managing the marketing campaign. That's the person that's doing the back end, ROI analyses and the return on investment, ROI analyses and number of different analyses. So I was that number cruncher, the planner. So I was able to take those skills to a part-time role to manage government grants. That means managing the grant budgets. There's the numbers, right? That's a transferable skill. That means reading the regulations, right? So obviously, in order for me to do a marketing campaign, there are a lot of little details that need to be figured out, sorted out, put it in sequential order. And so I was able to take that skill set and apply it to government grants. And in that, I did that for 5 or 6 years, 20 hours, maybe up to about 32 hours per week, and basically developed a new skill in that space, and continued in that career until till now. So yeah, that's how
awesome. You took time out for your son. You put your family first, and which is amazing. And that's what's funny is like it's faith, family, and friends, and then and then work for me.
Yeah.
So I totally get it. I was blessed to have worked a job for 13 years when our kids were younger. I got paid full time for working part time, but if I needed to, I would step up and work those extra hours if needed. But when you know how to do something, you can do it faster, smart. You work smarter, I guess is what it is.
Absolutely. And I also had 2 daughters. So it was my son and 2 daughters. They were younger, and it was just great being able to leave work, get home by, 2:00, meet him at the bus stop. My daughters would then come. And so I was able to, do the things that were really important, which were, making sure they were there. I was there for their afternoon snacks. We had that, making sure they had structure, focus on their homework, free time, just all of those things. I'm really, really happy I was able to do that. Things were tough financially in order to be able to do that, my husband and I, but I just knew that it was the right thing to do. And if I had to sacrifice my relationship, my career, not my relationship, but my career, I was willing to do that.
Wonderful, wonderful. And that's what's amazing. And I'm gonna say a keyword here, balance as much as we
Mm-hmm.
can. You knew what
Mm-hmm.
was important and you knew you had a talent to share, a skill set to share,
Mhm.
but also you knew what was important. I wanted to say a couple of things. I
Mm-hmm.
want you to talk about the
Mhm.
Age Has No Limit podcast that you also have. I
Yeah.
have been a guest in her amazing podcast. I was so impressed on how ready she was, how much she knew about me. I
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
wow, you did your homework, and she
Yeah.
asked amazing questions. So
Mm-hmm.
I want to again, we're here for our group, for our audience, and
Mm-hmm.
I love the name of your podcast, which is
Yeah.
Age Has No Limit.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us what inspired you to do that.
Great, great, great. So then that's a great question. So the name of my consulting business is Grants Works Consulting. You know, it was mentioned earlier, Tammy mentioned that the business is Ready, Set, Go Consult. That's actually another smaller business that I also have as well, where I
Okay.
teach people how to accelerate their consulting business, how to launch independent consulting businesses, and then how to really grow their business, have the foundation in place, have the operational systems in place. And so that's what I also do on a smaller scale. But because a lot of my work was in federal grants, regulatory analysis, you know, sort of just using one side of my brain, I really was craving something more on the creative side. And then I started to realize, okay, well, I can't do everything. And even though I could create things and create content around federal grants and probably will probably be a really big boost to the business. I really wanted to do something that was going to be more, that had more of a general appeal. I started to notice that a lot of the things that were addressed to people of a certain age was, you know, you started to see fewer news articles. And when you did see them, they were always around, you know, being an empty nester and all of these cliche types of, you know, headlines about, you know, all of these just things about people that are aging that just weren't really representative of the life I wanted and of the life that I knew other people that were in their 40s and 50s and 60s were also doing. I knew people that were doing amazing things. I knew people like myself who started a business at 49. So I wanted to focus on that. And that's part of the reason why I went with the Age Has No Limit. I was actually speaking with a longtime collaborator of mine. And I was explaining this to them and they were like, well, what about Age Has No Limit? So I do have to make sure every time that I give her the credit, that it wasn't my idea for that name, it was hers. But I was the one that said, hey, I want to do something for people in my age group. And so that's why I came up with the podcast. And I can tell you more about the podcast. So really quickly, what we do is we focus on people in their 40s all the way up who are doing amazing things. So it could be a woman who decided to just, you know, leave her job and travel to 10 countries in 10 months, or it could be, you know, someone like Lori who raised 8 children and then decided to start a business and is doing some amazing work with, you know, adding hypnosis or integrating hypnosis into her coaching program. It's just all, you know, different people doing amazing things. I also interviewed a gentleman who now he's an empty nester and has gone through his second divorce, is now living in an RV, and he's just trying to figure out where in the country where he wants to live. He's also a specialist in arhatic yoga, and he's, you know, just all of these very interesting things that people in our age group are doing that sometimes don't get the notoriety or the attention it deserves. You know, we're still 360-degree people and we should be treated as such. And that's part of the reason why I decided to, you know, move forward and continue to devote my time to that podcast.
Well, that's awesome. And I was going to mention, because actually Lori and I were kind of talking about it. What people forget is like, I think it's like Colonel Sanders of KFC. He didn't start until he was older. A lot
Yes.
of things people think, because like you said, they highlight it in media if somebody starts something young when they're
Yeah.
younger, right? Which is
Yeah.
awesome. But there's a lot of people who don't start different businesses until they're older,
Yeah.
you know, or get
Yeah.
that break until they're older. So, and it's like, you don't have to just roll over and like, okay, I have to cut my hair and I have to be all gray and
Yeah.
wrinkled and just go and
Yeah.
live in a corner, you know. It's
Yeah.
like, no.
Yeah.
Live each day to the fullest.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And so we've only recorded, I won't say only, I'm still excited about the fact that I was able to do this in 1 year while still holding down, a business. We've recorded 45 episodes. We've recorded, a
Yay.
person who could be Oprah Winfrey's former producer or former mayor, and just an amazing array of people and personalities. And I really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak with them and feature their stories.
There's so much wisdom in, there's so much in experience, right? With experience comes a series of knowledge and wisdom that otherwise we would not get.
Yeah.
And it is important for the youth to thrive and young adults, and they're doing amazing things already. However, even them will
Yeah.
evolve with
Mhm.
the years and find themselves as we find ourselves better. And like you said about me, 8 kids, and I'm like, well, I've had a lot of experience mentoring my own children and being also like a confidant to my peer moms, other moms, and things like that. So I think I can tap into this and make it something that I will do forward, like life coaching or Tammy. Oh my goodness, talk about Tammy. And I call her like the Barbie, because Barbie has done all the careers out there and all the jobs out there. I mean, so when you hone down in what is it that you like, and all the experience you've gathered, it's amazing. And you are also showing that and leading by example, Patrice, because I love two things that you have said already. You said that you wanted to be creative, and of course
Yes.
in this group we're all about creativity, especially artistic or content creation, and we're usually encouraging people to go out there in nature. And because in nature sometimes also, I'm not gonna say sometimes, most of the times, if you allow it and if you purposefully and intentionally get out in nature, is where you can get so much insight.
Yeah.
And personal revelation is what I'm even going to call it. Personal information and inspiration about what is it that God wants you to do, and for you
Yeah.
to acknowledge and allow for that to come to the surface and pursue it and
Mhm.
follow those callings is
Yeah.
important. So that is important, that you gave yourself permission to be creative in
Yeah.
a very creative way with this
Yes.
podcast, to give voice to these people, to share shed light on these people doing different things at that stage in their lives. And I also am inspired by you when you said that you always know things are going to work out. Can you
Mhm.
tell me more about that? Where it was the upbringing and people around you, the power of proximity is what I call it. Was it your own determination? Why is it that you say that you know that everything or things are going to work out?
So I think it's both of those things and a third. So the first is that I've always said to myself, and I may have shared this with others, that my parents did a really great job of kind of making sure I had the confidence as a little girl. And so I was always told I was, smart and all of these different things. And so I think definitely my upbringing and in the family that I was born in and raised in as well, just go-getters. My grandfather was a successful entrepreneur here in Jamaica, and he, just did what he could without limits. Had properties and just different things that a person with the education level that he had, you don't typically expect that. And then in addition to that, personally, I think I am as an individual, I'm very, I wouldn't call it confident. It's definitely confident, but also very competent. So if there's something I need to do, I'll figure out how to do it. And if I don't know how to do it, then I'll reach out to find the resources to make it happen. And so that's the second. The third is recently, as I've gotten older, I've now been much more aware that the things that you decide that you want to happen, they will happen. It may not happen when you would like it to or how. As a matter of fact, the how part, you just kind of, that will come over time. But I think those three things are why I believe that if you, pursue something, it will happen. I don't even say if it doesn't happen, because it will happen. It just, again, may not happen in the way that you intended. So I think it's a combination of the three.
Wonderful, wonderful. Christopher, one viewer, is saying that we become much wiser with age, right? Maybe that's
Yes.
why we realize our real call and then start a business to follow our dream. I like
Yeah.
that too. And especially with Patrice's advice, especially if you know things are going to work out, that is just the cherry on top.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, you should always do, like you said, it's like a lot of times it's just in our heart. If you go and do a careers or different things that you hate, you're
Mhm.
not going to be happy, and it's
Yeah.
like we only live once. So
Mhm.
it's like to always choose something that you enjoy. And
Yeah.
even though, sometimes it's not at the money level,
Mhm.
or we're not, like you said, you're not sure how you're going to do it, but
Mhm.
sometimes you just have to take that chance.
Yeah.
So, and do you have any inspiring stories, like of nature stories or anything that you would like to share with us?
Well, nature stories. I have a lot of those. I'm gonna try to find one that's more recent. It's so interesting that Lori mentioned that, sometimes when you're in nature, it can inspire you or it can form you. And if you listen to it, it can kind of guide you. Now, this isn't probably the best experience, but I noticed even whenever I come here, there is I just feel different. I feel lighter. I don't feel the burden of all the things that I feel I'm supposed to be doing as a business owner. But I do remember recently when I was here, and maybe it was my second day here, I sat on the veranda and the breeze was just blowing through the trees, and it was all these beautiful colors and flowers and everything around me. And I was just really inspired to do something I hadn't wanted to do for a long time. It could be because I was so busy with all of the final planning to make it here. But I decided to just sit in that breeze and sit and just really take in everything around me, and was able to do something creative that I hadn't done in a very, very long time. As a matter of fact, now that I'm here and I'm just again surrounded by the beauty of this kind of tropical nature, I finally decided to sort of peel off something I've been wanting to do as well. So I do think that being in nature can change your just change your disposition. And so I think that my disposition changes when I'm in this environment. Any tropical environment, but definitely the one here, probably because again, I'm from here, but I definitely think the flowers, the trees, I'm looking at them right now, just help to make me feel happy and content and joyful.
You're gonna have to post some photos. I mean, I want to see it. I'm envisioning them because I'm
Yeah.
very visual. So
Yeah.
it's like every time I'm like visioning, and that's because I've been to Hawaii and Bahamas. I haven't been to
Yes.
Jamaica yet, and I'm
Yes.
envisioning those, and I'm
Yeah.
envisioning the ocean and the waves, and that's.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
there is something, like you said, when it's in the air, that freshness. And
Mhm.
I know Lori and I were noticing when we were up at these alpine lakes, the
Mhm.
smells in the air, the freshness.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's just something about it, right?
Yeah, some of it could be like, sensory, just your senses are just like adjusting to all this new beauty, the lights, the sparkle of the light on the water, on the lake. It's this sensory, it's like you take your senses out of you driving to the store, running your chores and all the things that your senses are used to doing on an everyday basis, and then put it in this new environment where it's around these beautiful pine trees and this lake and these rocks. All of these things are just I think just kind of awake your senses to another level, and it just feels exciting for me. It just helps me feel more exciting. I'm ready to explore and dip my toe in the water. So and dipping that toe in the water is really taking the senses to another level. That's touch, right? And so I think it has to do with that sensory it's an awakening of the senses. Maybe I'm overthinking it, but that's the way I see it.
No,
No, no,
I
no, no,
agree.
no. I am just going to, I feel you. And I am
Mhm.
going to expand on that. Tammy knows it. I mean, going to all these beautiful destinations and beautiful spots. And
Mhm.
sometimes you have to work to
Yeah.
get there. You have to
Mhm.
hike. You have to hike high. You have
Mhm.
to drive in that side by side four-wheeler that
Yeah.
Mr. Darrell took us on and all that. You have to go through the not so pretty or maybe beautiful places to get to a destination
Mhm.
where you are going to do that. And Patrice, I agree with you. Like Tammy, pretty soon we're going to share with you a lot of footage.
Mhm.
But you appealed and you touch on the senses. And
Mhm.
that's what I'm like, the smells, the fragrances, the colors, you hear the sound of the water, you hear the creatures in their environment with nothing disrupting the flow or the synergy that happens there, everything in perfect balance. Yes, something's happening in nature that, are out of balance, but even those natural phenomena happen for a reason, or when those happen, it restores naturally. And it just puts you in this place where, again, you disconnect from the norm to reconnect with what matters most. I love the fact that you shared how is it that you were thinking of something that you have kind of like put on the back burner or something, and now you're deciding on taking action. And Tammy and I, when we went there and connected and bonded and spoke to whom we spoke to and things like that, we came with new plans. We had executive meetings out there, right? Tammy, in the outdoors.
Well, it's kind of like what Patrice says. You, for some reason, it just unlocks that creativity in you. So you even come up with more. At the moment, you're focused on all those senses, and we were up where there's no cell phone footage, but we used our phones for taking photos. But it unlocks a creativity in you. So then when you're in your rides down, you're just thinking, it's like, oh my gosh, I could do this or this. But it's kind of like you said, it's like around every corner we went, or like Lori and I, on Sunday, I think it was, I'm like, hey, Lori, we've got to hike this one last hike here before you leave. And she was a good sport because it's like this uphill. And I mean, you're at the top of the mountain overlooking, everything. And then I'm like, let's go on, another half mile into this lake. And I hadn't been to this one lake that we hiked into on Sunday. And every corner you're like, is it here? And it's just like, it's so pretty. And then when it opens up, you're just like, oh my gosh, how beautiful, but it's like at the same time, we have so many more creative ideas now because it just pushes us more.
And that bond that we connected with each other, and I'm sure Patrice, in your situation, is just bond with yourself. And tell me if this is your experience. This is your experience. If you agree, in my situation with Tammy and I, we've been talking about certain things. We've been talking about certain plans, but being out there and making these plans gives us even more confidence and this assertiveness. Like, we're gonna do this. We're going to do this no matter what. And then because being there communing with heaven, I even express at some point there, it just gives me this sense of even reverence. To admire this beautiful picture. We admire Tammy's picture, 3D art. When you're there, though, you think of the artist of artists, which is the creator, our God, and you see, wow, this is there for me for free, for me to have access to anytime. And it's been waiting for me. But it's a matter of us taking advantage of those experiences and those spots. And
what we loved was at the one lake, there was kids there playing with this one younger boy. He was maybe 12 or 13, had built a boat, but using drone propellers and stuff, a remote control. And he let us play, drive it and stuff. He asked us to, so we're like, okay,
it was a remote control car, but it was a remote control little boat that he created.
But it was great seeing people there, because we actually went to 2 lakes with no one there at all. It was just us, which is amazing, because there's like, everybody should be enjoying this, but at the same time, we were thankful that it was just us. So now, how do your kids feel? You still have kids at home?
No, they're not at home anymore. So the last one finished school last year. And my son actually is here, because he was like, I need to come see where mom's going to live. So he's actually here. And
That's a
today's
good,
his birthday.
that's a good son.
He is a good son. He is a fantastic son. So my daughters, they also understand. They've also, throughout their lives, they've heard me talking about how, hey, I wish, I could raise you partially there, just all these different things. And we've come here to visit as a family on vacations before. So they've known that this is something that I've always wanted to do. And they also understand that, I have a business in the US. I have, team members in the US, and, other things that are in the US. And so it's a part-time, to me, it's a part-time living arrangement, if that makes sense. So I'm here, multiple weeks, and I'll be there multiple weeks. And so they, to be honest, when they get older and they move out on their own, you don't see them as often anyway. So as long as they can reach me on the phone, I think they're fine. And of course we can do video calls. And so I think they're fine. But overall, I think, I think there were people that were, confused, like, why would you want to leave? I'm like, well, it's something I've always wanted to do. And again, this will work out. Maybe in a year and a half, 2 years, I decide there's something else. To me, it's no big deal to just kind of shift. I know a friend that said, we're not trees, we can move, right? And so we can always move and go somewhere else. Maybe that next destination is Costa Rica, Ecuador, or somewhere else, and live there for a couple of years and enjoy that environment for as long as I need to.
If you're open and
agree.
willing to go and have that adventure, and you have the freedom, I
Yes.
mean, more power to you. That's great.
Yeah. Yeah. And then of course I can run the business from anywhere. As long as I have strong enough Wi-Fi, I can still, participate, serve clients, and all the things that I normally do. So it's been fantastic.
That's awesome. I agree. You should always live in a destination place. And I was telling Lori, the reason we moved here is we wanted to live in a place we would want to vacation to. And so that is why we are here. And then of course there's an airport close by when we want to fly to places like Jamaica in the wintertime.
Yes. And there's a fall call coming in the background. So
It's
forgive
fine.
me.
Well, Patrice, time goes by fast when we're having fun. We have a few people watching live, and I'm sure people are going to enjoy when they watch the replay. We want to ask you if you have final words, specifically inspiring people, especially with your theme of age has no limit. Maybe in that context, help. What are your final remarks on how to inspire our viewers, our audience, to live life without limit?
Well, I think what I'm going to pick up on is, the way that we describe the podcast, and it's that we want to inspire people who maybe always wanted to start a business, but never felt they had the ability to do that. We want to inspire people that had a skill or a talent that they had to, put on the shelf while they were raising their children or some other responsibility. Maybe you've always been concerned about what society thinks, or too concerned about what society thinks. And so you've always limited yourself from taking certain risks. We want to inspire you to, go out and take the risk, because, you never know, you may actually be successful. And so my overall goal with the podcast, and in my own personal belief, is that if you don't give it a try, then you'll never know how well you will do in whatever that new endeavor is. And that, this is the perfect time, I think, for many of us, where we may have aging parents. Why not counterbalance that new responsibility with finding another way to enjoy our lives? Our children are out of the house and we're empty nesters. Why not do what one of our guests has done? And she now has a really popular cooking show specifically for empty nesters, right? Or like Lori, she now has a fantastic coaching business. So they're not all about starting businesses. Some people don't want to start a business. They want to do other things. Maybe you want to take up playing the piano again. Maybe you want to learn several new languages. Your age should not be any, shouldn't be anything. It shouldn't be what restricts you from doing that.
So I love it, Patrice. You're all about action.
Mhm.
And we were talking about this weekend.
Mhm.
So many people will talk about stuff,
Mhm.
but they never take action.
Yeah.
And it doesn't do any good if all we do is talk.
Mhm.
You have to take action, take those risks.
Yes, absolutely.
What's the
Absolutely.
worst thing that's going to happen? If you fail, you learn from it, right?
Yeah.
Exactly. Exactly. That's my thinking. And it's thankfully it's worked out so far. And if it doesn't work out, like you said, it's something that I probably need to learn from, take the lesson and figure it out, figure out to do something else.
It's just a
Wonderful.
challenge.
It is.
It's a challenge to overcome and learn from and keep moving. Well, we appreciate you being here, Patrice. I am very happy you are very satisfied with that decision you've made, and it's already delivering. The outdoors, nature is already delivering great insights, motivating you to take action for the other things that you want to accomplish, other goals. And we wish you the best, and you've been a great guest, and we have loved having you here.
Okay, great. Thank you. I enjoyed being here and speaking about how we can unlock freedom in nature. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. And I just want to say thank you to all our guests that are watching and that will watch later. Make sure you ask Patrice questions, and I'm sure she'll come on here and answer if you have questions for us. And we're going to ask Patrice to post some photos of her beautiful place in Jamaica so we can dream of it.
Yeah.
Especially on cold days for me, because I live in a 4-season area. So we just want to say thank you.
And we want to also remind you to share. There's a lot of other noise that we can tune into and negativity and all that. The world needs light. The world needs positivity. And this is for you to enjoy and share and subscribe. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to our channel. It's a good, positive channel. Different than what a lot of the world is consuming right now. And we're going to encourage you to think positive, inhale positivity to exhale possibilities. So share and subscribe. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Patrice.
Bye-bye.
See you next time.